What's up everyone, and welcome to a brand new what if video. Today I'll be covering a what if that a lot of you have been suggesting for a while, and one in which I feel could be pretty subversive and interesting. I waited kind of a long time to do this one because there was an overabundance of BROLY what ifs, but I haven't done really too many what ifs involving BROLY on my channel, so I decided, why not? I might as well do this one because a lot of you wanted it and I kinda wanted to cover it as well. This scenario will probably not go the way you think. No, I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean it in a very good way. When looking through this, I found a way to make it a lot more interesting and not as predictable as you would expect from a scenario like this. Today we're going to be looking at what would happen if BROLY landed on Namek instead of Vampa, arriving on the Namekian planet after being sent away from planet Vegeta. Let's also set a like goal for this video. If you want to see more parts to this and you like the scenario, be sure to drop a like and let's see if we can hit 3,000 likes. Once we hit that, I'll know there's demand for another part and I'll continue this what if. Without further ado, let's get into the scenario and see what might have happened if BROLY landed on Namek instead of Vampa. Here we go. We begin around the time that BROLY is sent off planet Vegeta. While Vampa does seem like a viable option to send this child away to, there also is Namek. It seems pretty remote, and apparently long ago, a storm destroyed most of the population, so it's pretty deserted, and who knows, another one of these giant storms might come out and wipe out this Saiyan child. King Vegeta of course doesn't want to deal with him, so this is fine, and he decides to send BROLY to planet Namek. The pod gets launched and flies away far off to the green planet. Paragus does end up finding out about this and he's pretty angered. Naturally, he's going to pursue BROLY, so he decides to steal a ship and follow where the pod went to. Days pass, and eventually on Namek, something disturbs the peace. Something falls from outer space. Was that some sort of meteor? No, it was actually a spaceship. A couple of farmer Namekians go over to it, and they see what's inside. It appears to be a child. A humanoid with a tail. They're obviously pretty confused, so they decide to take it to the one person who might have the wisdom to deduce who this actually is. The Grand Elder Guru. The Namekians arrive at Guru's place with the new child, with his space pod as well. Guru is very intrigued by this. It appears that this child is a Saiyan, a race in which he knows about from the Namekian Book of Legends. Shockingly enough, this child seems pretty rowdy, as well as being pretty strong and somewhat out of control. This is pretty worrisome. What should they do with this child? But suddenly they're interrupted. Another ship ends up landing on Namek, this time with two adults who appear to also be Saiyans. Far away the ship lands, and is greeted by a couple of Namekian warriors who are on alert. Paragus is pretty irrational right now. He's seeking out high power levels in order to look for BROLY, but is surprised to see on a scouter that there's actually a few more here. It seems the Namekians are still alive and they're very strong. No matter though, he'll defeat them. Beat stays back in the ship, kinda terrified, especially with how crazy Paragus is acting right now. Irrational and inconsolable, Paragus confronts the Namekian warriors. There's a mutual sense of hostility, and Paragus isn't gonna have it. He draws his gun on them, feeling like he's the one in power, but that sets the Namekians off. They power up and reveal that they're much stronger than Paragus, and then Paragus starts attacking them. The Namekians even notice that he's heading in the direction of Guru's place, so of course they're gonna want to stop him. In order to protect the planet and their Grand Elder, and not knowing who this guy is, they decide to kill Paragus. It's kinda tragic really. He was just here chasing BROLY. With Paragus' heightened anxiety and stress, as well as his seemingly hostile demeanor, this created a grave misunderstanding between him and the Namekian warriors, resulting in his death. Beats of course wants none of this and he just flies away back to planet Vegeta, not wanting to speak a word of any of this. The Namekians don't even bother shooting down the ship. The message has been sent. In order to make sure Guru is okay, they head over, and Guru of course sensed what just happened, and he's pretty worried. These warriors were far away from Guru and didn't know that a child landed earlier on Namek, and seemingly these Saiyans were here to retrieve him. This was a pretty bad misunderstanding, but it doesn't matter now. That Saiyan was hostile anyways, and the Namekians did what was right by protecting the planet. They didn't know about the Saiyan child until after the fact, so it's not their fault. They just thought this guy was an intruder and there's no need to blame them because Paragus kinda made it seem that way. But what will they do about the child now? That might have been his father, and now he's alone. They of course weren't going to kill him and they probably can't send him back because they don't know how to. And the thing is, this child shows a lot of promise. Guru senses in his heart that while he is pretty rowdy, he has a lot of untapped power and potentially could be good-hearted. While Saiyans are cruel creatures, this is a child, and nurture might win over nature if they were to raise him. They could use more strong fighters anyways, so Guru decides they'll take this child in as their own. Guru's bodyguard, Nail, steps up and decides that he'll take care of this child. With Nail being one of the strongest Namekian warriors here, he can not only raise this child to be a good person, but a powerful line of defense for Namek. He'll act as sort of a teacher and a father figure, and I guess Guru will kind of be the grandpa here. With no objections, Nail takes the child in, with Guru making sure to keep tabs on him. The thing is, they don't know this child's name either. They don't know his name is BROLY. I don't know if that's something Guru would be able to sense, since BROLY might not even know it himself. So if you guys want, you could suggest some names for him below in the comments. But now, I'm just going to stick with calling him the Saiyan. I think of it kind of in the same way as the Mandalorian. An orphan child from one group being taken in by another group, being raised as a warrior and not going by his real name, but instead by the name of his culture. BROLY, referred to as the Saiyan by all the Namekians, is raised as a Namekian rather than a Saiyan. He is educated, nurtured, and trained like a Namekian. As we saw with Goku, this could actually change how a Saiyan grows up. The thing is, Goku hit his head, which completely changed him as a person, while BROLY is just a regular Saiyan being raised as a Namekian. Not only does he grow up under a better influence, but he grows up healthier and smarter, and sees a lot of great development as a person. This BROLY would be a completely different character from the BROLY we know. Physically, he would look pretty much the same. Maybe his scars wouldn't be there, but I do know for sure that he probably would have a change of clothes. And right here is what I would imagine BROLY would look like if he were raised on Namek. Overall pretty much the same, except he's wearing the clothes of a Namekian warrior, kinda similar to Nail's. While his armor would probably become destroyed over time, he still could have his wristbands. So over time, how much has he really changed? With Nail's experience and power, I'm sure he'd be able to teach BROLY some useful things. Keeping his anger under control would be one of the most important parts. Overall, Nail would be able to shape him into a strong and stoic warrior. One who is much smarter and much more under control than the BROLY that we know. So what about his tail? As far as we know, Namek has no moons, so I don't think they'd even ever see BROLY turn into a great ape. However, I'm sure with their knowledge of Saiyans, they'll be able to find out that Saiyan tails actually turn them into these monsters. And I'm sure they wouldn't really want to risk it. His tail doesn't really serve any purpose right now, and it's really just a weak spot, so it would be good to remove it. Plus, they want to be safe rather than sorry, even if the chances of him turning into a great ape are pretty much zero. Not that it matters too much though, and you'll see why later. Guru and Nail are pretty impressed with this child's growth. This Saiyan was once a rowdy, unintelligent child, with an explosive personality. Now, he's much more mellowed and can control himself. But he has great powers in reserve, and Guru decides to give him a little gift. BROLY is summoned to Guru's palace one day, where Guru wants to show him something that'll make him a more effective warrior. Guru places his hand on the Saiyan's head, sensing the immense amount of potential within him. Guru has known this for a while, but now that the Saiyan is able to control himself, and is a coherent warrior, Guru thinks this is the right time. Guru begins drawing out his potential. Nail is amazed at how incredible the increase in power is, as is BROLY. Nail is left pretty much speechless, also feeling a bit of pride. He raised this warrior well, and now with his potential drawn out, he's stronger than even Nail was. Guru knows that there's more within him, and he encourages BROLY to explore that. The Saiyan gives a nod of approval and gives his thanks to Guru. This boost in power will really come in handy. And Namek has a very reliable line of defense now. Although they are a peaceful planet, it is good to ensure this, which is why they have Nail as a bodyguard for Guru, and now BROLY who kinda acts as one as well. The Saiyan feels at home. Of course he knows he isn't a Namekian. Physically it's not hard to tell, I mean the lack of green skin is pretty much a dead giveaway. But even knowing this, he views the Namekians pretty much as family. The Namekians all are related. They're brothers, and BROLY feels just like that. While he is a bit curious about his history, he's content where he is now, and feels great pride and love for his home planet Namek. It's a good thing that they have this extra line of firepower though, because now, Namek is about to face a threat. By this time in the story, we're in age 762. The events that have transpired on Namek so far pretty much won't affect anything else in the universe, so everything goes pretty much like normally. There were other Saiyans off planet besides BROLY. Vegeta, Nappa, and Raditz on one planet, a Saiyan named Kakarot that is now named Goku sent to another planet, and also Vegeta's estranged brother Tarble, who's not really relevant here, but worth mentioning. The events for everyone else goes pretty much the same. Dragon Ball happens like normal, the Saiyan Saga happens, Vegeta returns to Frieza Planet 79, and now, Frieza is aware of the Dragon Balls on Namek. So naturally, he's gonna head there and try to get them for himself. It's a peaceful day on Namek, much like normal. This average day is going normal so far. However, terror arrives. The Frieza Force lands on Namek, and they make their presence known. They're searching for the Dragon Balls, and they'll get them by any means necessary. BROLY and Nail of course sense this threat. Nail is sworn to guard Guru, and BROLY's pretty much in the same position now. Maybe the other warriors will be sufficient enough to handle this threat, but it doesn't seem like it's gonna go that way. Guru is saddened, BROLY and Nail are angered. They sense many Namekian keys being extinguished, and know that their brethren are dying. And that's when Nail notices something that he hasn't seen for a while. BROLY's anger begins to flare up a little bit again. He's keeping it under wraps, but he is visibly upset, and Nail notices a slight increase in power. He wants to make sure BROLY doesn't lose control. The Saiyan wants to go out and fight, protecting his brothers. Nail can tell how powerful this threat is, but he knows he won't be able to stop BROLY. Broly is set on going out and fighting. Nail would prefer he stays here and defends Guru with him, and he tries to convince Broly otherwise, but he won't budge. Nail concedes, and he tells Broly good luck, wanting him to promise that he'll stay safe. The Saiyan gives his promise, and then departs from Guru's palace. On another part of the planet, a ship completely different from Frieza's ships begins to land. This ship is from far away in space, on a planet known as Earth. 3 people are aboard it: Bulma, Krillin, and Gohan. Their arrival on Namek was pretty much normal, and their ship ends up getting destroyed. Gohan and Krillin are able to fend off against the Frieza Force soldiers though, but of course they're pretty nervous now. Not only is this army on planet Namek, but it appears another ship has landed as well, containing none other but Vegeta. This seems like a massive mess. Their ship is destroyed, and there's all these hostiles here on the planet. So what will they do now? They have no choice but to hide and keep their keys lowered. But their encounters aren't over yet. As Broly's flying, he senses a temporary massive increase in ki nearby. Thinking that this might be a threat, he's curious and decides to check it out. He should be able to handle it alone. He heard movement in a nearby cave, and he calls out. He assumes a battle stance and tells him that he knows that someone's in there. But the people he sensed don't budge. Broly eases towards the cave, ready to fight. He goes around the corner and then he sees what's in the cave. 3 people. Are they hostile? Are they friends? He doesn't know, but he's ready to fight. Gohan and Krillin prepare to fight as well, thinking that this might be a Frieza Force soldier. It's odd though, he's wearing very different clothes. But then Broly snaps to his senses, realizing that one of these is a kid, and one of the people in the group is a scared woman who isn't doing anything. He calms down. These don't seem like bad guys, and hopefully his judgment's right. Gohan then picks up on something. Krillin sees this too and he's terrified. This guy must be a Saiyan. They ask him that, and he confirms. But something's off. Vegeta, Nappa, and Raditz had very different clothes on. This Saiyan is wearing completely different clothes. This guy must not be with them. They begin exchanging questions, and everyone figures out what's going on. These 3 are from Earth and have nothing to do with Frieza's army. And this new Saiyan that they just met, he's not with Frieza's army either. He asks for their names, Krillin, Gohan, and Bulma, and they ask for his. But suddenly they're interrupted when they sense something going on nearby. It appears that one of the villages is being attacked, and Broly immediately leaves to go see what's going on. Gohan and Krillin follow him as well, while Bulma stays back in the cave. They still don't know exactly who this guy is, but it seems like he works for the Namekians somehow. He's definitely not with Vegeta, Frieza, or any of those people. So how exactly did he get here and why? They get to the village and then they find that some guy is attacking the Namekians. It's Dodoria. Broly doesn't hesitate. He immediately confronts Dodoria, and Dodoria starts a fight. This guy's a weakling. His power doesn't even show up on the scouter. One of the Namekians suddenly destroys all the scouters on Frieza's soldiers. And then distracted by this, Dodoria suddenly gets attacked by Broly. With one punch, he's defeated, and a single blast defeats all the other soldiers. Krillin and Gohan are amazed, and the Namekians thank Broly. Of course they could rely on him. Gohan and Krillin jump out and confront Broly again. They want to team up with him, and they're actually curious as to why he's here. He'll explain that in due time. But first, they actually want to know his name, so they ask him. So the biggest discussion in the comments on the last part revolved around what Broly's name should be. Should he have a Namekian name? Should he have no name? Or should he just be called Broly? Well, it was a little bit tough for me to decide. Sure, I think giving a Namekian name for him would be cool, and would make sense, but a lot of people suggested that I stick with Broly since it's a lot simpler to keep up with. And there is a simple explanation behind it. When Paragus did arrive on planet Namek, he could have been shouting Broly's name, and that could have somehow spread the word to Nail that his name was Broly. Personally, I don't think he'd go by that name his whole life, but he probably would know about it eventually. Sometime during his upbringing with Nail, Nail probably would have mentioned it in passing. So when the group of Earthlings ask what the Saiyan's name is, he hesitates for a bit. But after thinking, he accepts the name Broly. It's odd because he never truly adopted it, but this may be the start of that for him. It felt like he never really had a true name, and this may be closer to the real name that he'll have. I know, it might be a little bit anticlimactic, but like I said, keeping the name Broly gives a good sense of his identity. It makes it much easier first of all, but also regardless of his name, he's still seen as a true Namekian by all the people around him, but keeping his Saiyan name gives him that sense of uniqueness that he's had this whole time. Gohan and Krillin tell Broly more about why they're here and who they are, because they only gave a brief explanation before. Apparently, on this planet that they're from, Saiyans do exist, and by Saiyans I mean one Saiyan. Actually, this kid right here, he's a half Saiyan, part human, part Saiyan, which is pretty weird for Broly to see. I mean, it's weird for him to see a Saiyan in general because he's never really seen one before, much less a half Saiyan, or even an Earthling for that matter. Once they explain more about who they are and what their goal is, he's fine with them joining along, because he knows they're here for good purposes. It seems they were just at the wrong place at the wrong time, or maybe they were in the right place at the right time. They could be pretty helpful here in helping save planet Namek alongside Broly, but we'll see more of that as this part goes on. And of course, Dende is with the group and he tags along with them. So now this group of 4 heads out. And instead of Dende trying to take them to Guru, their goal right now is to stop the Namekian villages from being slaughtered. They eventually do run into a village that's facing trouble, and they see the person that's there causing all this trouble. Gohan and Krillin immediately recognize who it is, and Broly's confused. Why are they so scared? It's Vegeta, another Saiyan. Vegeta of course sees the group as well, recognizing Gohan and Krillin, but then he sees who's with them now, and he's terrified. A small Namekian's with them, Dende. Vegeta is terrified of this child. Nah, obviously I'm just kidding. He's scared of Broly being there. It's another Saiyan, and he's wearing clothing very similar to that of the Namekians that Vegeta just killed. Thankfully he hasn't touched this village yet, otherwise he'd be dead right now. And why is he teamed up with these Earthlings? Are they on the same side? Are they his hostages? Vegeta does have a Dragon Ball with him already, and he's not really sure what to do here. He can't tell how strong this guy is, but from what Vegeta can infer by his look and how he's carrying himself, he's definitely not an average Saiyan. Most likely, he came here a while ago and grew up here somehow. And considering how weak the Namekians were that Vegeta fought before, he's not too worried about this guy. At best, he's only going to be as strong as Kakarot probably, which shouldn't be too much of a challenge. Well, as long as this guy doesn't have some huge power boosting technique like Kaioken. But regardless, Vegeta feels confident. Not really sure what to do, he wants to try and appeal to Broly first. Maybe this guy is a true Saiyan and he would want to join Vegeta. Vegeta introduces himself, the prince of all Saiyans, and the strongest among them as a high-class warrior. It's not really that big of a deal to be the strongest amongst 2 people. And little does Vegeta know, he's not even the strongest Saiyan. The strongest Saiyan is standing right in front of him. Vegeta tries to appeal to Broly, but Broly obviously won't budge. Without even noticing, Vegeta suddenly feels the weight that he's carrying is lightened, and he looks down and sees that his Dragon Ball's gone. Sitting next to Broly is that Dragon Ball. Broly was quick enough and nimble enough to take it without Vegeta even noticing. Vegeta's confused and a little bit concerned. How was he able to do that? But along with his confusion and concern, he's angry as hell. A nice talk won't work anymore. So Vegeta's just gonna attack him and take the Dragon Ball back. He lunges towards Broly, and in one shot, he's knocked out. Not knocked back, not knocked down on the ground, but completely unconscious in one hit. Broly turns to the 2 Earthlings and gives a little laugh. This was the guy they're worried about? Thankfully, they didn't know that Vegeta already slaughtered a village or 2. They just happened to run into him. Otherwise, he'd be dead meat. They sit around conversing for a bit, trying to decide what to do. Broly doesn't necessarily want to kill him because that feels wrong. They should just leave him here and forget about it. As they're about to depart, Vegeta ends up waking up again, weakened and injured. As they fly off, he shouts to them. But they don't pay him any mind. They gotta get going so they can find the Dragon Balls and make sure no other Namekians get hurt. Vegeta picks himself up and begins following them. Who is this guy? Is he, possibly, a Super Saiyan? They land at the village and get another Dragon Ball, but Vegeta eventually catches up to them while they're there. Broly's ready to take him down again, but Vegeta begins talking. He did want to pursue immortality, but now with Broly and group meddling, he knows that's not going to happen. But they might be able to help him thwart Frieza's plans at least. He begins talking and says that he wants to help them. He tells them all about this army that's on the planet, the Frieza Force, and their leader Frieza. He'll provide them info and help them, as long as he could join them. Really, Vegeta just plans to steal the wish last minute. So this is a win-win because they'll collect the Dragon Balls for him, and it'll give him some extra protection. In order to gain their trust, he begins saying everything he knows about the Frieza Force, and pleads for Broly to let him join the group. They are both Saiyans after all. They should stick together. But Broly replies saying that he's not one of them, at least not in his heart. That Saiyan pride thing isn't going to work on Broly. The Saiyans are cruel warmongers, as Broly has learned, and Vegeta just proves this stereotype. Although, this kid Gohan does seem pretty different. Maybe the Saiyans aren't all too bad. At this point, Vegeta just swallows his pride and flat out asks them, almost begging to join them. He knows he can't stop them and he won't get his immortality, but he pleads for them to help stop Frieza. Broly is incredibly strong, and he may be able to help. Right now they plan to just get the Dragon Balls, but Vegeta's bringing up a new quest for them. Defeat Frieza. Well, it's not really like Broly had any other choice. If he's gonna save the planet, they're gonna have to defeat Frieza eventually. He doesn't know about this guy or hasn't seen him yet, so he doesn't know what to expect, but judging by what Vegeta's saying, his power is unlike anything else, even above Broly's. Is this really true? I guess they'll just have to see. Vegeta joins them for the time being, now desperate to defeat Frieza. As they're about to leave this village, Zarbon then intercepts everyone, wondering where Dodoria is. He sees Vegeta with the group and immediately knows that nothing good's going on here. Zarbon is easily defeated, and Broly doesn't really like to kill, so he leaves him on the ground. Vegeta is astonished at how easily he accomplished this, but it seems Zarbon's not done yet. He gets up, transforms into his ugly form, and is ready to attack. Instead of going for Broly, he goes for who he thinks is the weakest in the group. That child, Gohan. Zarbon lunges towards him, ready to kill. Immediately, Broly's instincts kick in. While he doesn't like to kill, he knows they can't just leave Zarbon here. Briefly, his ki and anger flare up, and almost automatically, he kills Zarbon in one hit, making sure that Gohan's okay and wasn't hurt. He's fine, but speechless, as is everyone else. What is this guy? Vegeta's lucky he didn't get that treatment. Broly tells everyone to pack up as they're on to another village. He knows where all the Dragon Balls are located, and wants to secure the villages that already haven't been decimated, while also attacking Frieza's soldiers along the way. Judging by this Zarbon guy, they all seem hostile and out for blood. And it's terrible to see all the villages along the way. Some are fine, but others are completely decimated. Dead bodies everywhere, houses destroyed, and overall, it's just a war zone. Meanwhile, Frieza's trying to contact Zarbon and Dodoria, but it's kinda odd. His scouter seems to be acting up, which is probably why communications won't work. It randomly keeps showing a power level that's in the 6-digit range, possibly even higher, but it always immediately drops back down after it senses this power level. Crappy scouters, this batch must be full of duds. First the power levels are acting up, and then the comms won't work? Whatever. He tells his soldiers to go find Zarbon and Dodoria and give a message. But something doesn't sit right with Frieza. He assumes that the scouters aren't working, but the thing is they're brand new. Maybe comms aren't working with Zarbon and Dodoria because something happened with them, and maybe those power levels are actually real. He brushes these thoughts off, thinking that it's impossible. The scouters have to be broken. Right? Moving into space, Goku is traveling towards Namek, doing his thing on his ship. He hopes everyone is safe, but King Kai gives him some news. Apparently, Vegeta is there as well as some other Saiyan. As far as King Kai knows, the Saiyan isn't with Vegeta or with Frieza, and seems to be an orphan raised by Namekians. But most importantly, he warns Goku about Frieza, telling him not to fight him. But Goku's more intrigued about this other Saiyan. There's another one? And apparently he's actually good. Hopefully Gohan, Krillin, and Bulma are in good hands. And maybe this guy could help them out. Back to Namek, the group covertly gathers Dragon Balls, while destroying scouters and defeating soldiers. Time passes and things are going very well for them. Frieza is just confused and kinda speechless. He doesn't really know what to do here. He's going around to villages by himself now, and they're empty. His soldiers are nowhere to be found, there's no Dragon Balls, and there's no Namekians there. It's not that the villages have been wiped out, it seems more so that they evacuated. He also brushes this off, thinking the Namekians must have just found out about the invasion and evacuated as a precaution. And if these Namekians know about the invasion, that gets him thinking. Maybe that might be why the scouters were acting up earlier. He suspects someone is messing with their tech, and covertly destroyed their army. Little does he know, the scouter worked just fine, and all of his assumptions are wrong. Frieza has 1 Dragon Ball right now, and meanwhile, Broly's group has a whopping 6 Dragon Balls, so they only need the one that Frieza has. Gohan pulls out the Dragon Radar, and they sense that in the same direction that the Dragon Ball is, a massive power seems to be right near it. Vegeta remembers too that this is around the location that Frieza's ship landed, so naturally, they come to the assumption that Frieza has the last ball. For now, they decide they're going to head back to Guru's place. At Guru's place, Nail's pretty surprised to see how well everyone is working together, and how weird this ragtag group is. He is suspicious of Vegeta, of course, but he knows Broly can't handle him if anything goes wrong. As for Gohan and Krillin, he feels pretty confident in these two. Guru offers to unlock the potential of them and Dende, while Nail tries to distract Vegeta and keep him out of the loop, because he's not really worthy of this gift according to Guru, so they might as well just keep it secret from him now. Suddenly, everyone senses something approaching, and by something, they mean multiple things. 6 people are coming to Namek right now. Vegeta puts 2 and 2 together and thinks that it might be the Ginyu Force, but there's 6 powers approaching and one seems to be lagging behind. Who could it actually be? Broly is immediately on guard and decides to go after that lone ship first. This power feels incredibly different, but then Gohan and Krillin recognize it. One of these ships is Goku. But even with Goku there, these Ginyu guys do seem tough judging by their power, so they need to head over there and make sure Goku is okay in case he encounters them. They bring the Dragon Balls to Bulma to keep them safe, since she can't be spotted on a scouter and no one will find her, and then they decide to head to Goku with Broly. Not long after, Goku's ship does land on Namek, and almost immediately as he lands, the Ginyu Force descends on his location. He senses other powers coming towards him, knowing that it's Gohan and Krillin and possibly that Broly guy. Oh yeah, and Vegeta, I guess. He's not really in the mood to deal with Vegeta's BS right now, because right now he's facing against the Ginyu Force. Single-handedly, Goku defeats Jason and Birder, putting the 3 other members of the Ginyu Force on guard. Goldo decides to try and stop time and attack Goku, so he does this, and while time is frozen, he begins punching and kicking Goku. His attacks do absolutely nothing, and he's pretty terrified. Scared, he goes back to the spot he was before, and right as he's about to release his breath, he sees something. A massive glowing light in the sky. He can't hold his breath any longer, and then he realizes what it is. It's a ki blast coming right towards him. He accidentally lets his breath go, and as soon as he does, the beam hits him and sends him flying off into a cliff. Rest in peace, Goldo. Goku looks over and sees Gohan, Krillin, Vegeta, and Dende, plus some other guy that looks like a Saiyan, so he assumes that's BROLY. He's glad to see them, but this distraction allows Ginyu to swap his body with someone, deciding to take Goku since he seems to be the strongest here. Stealing Goku's body seems like a great bet. Ginyu Goku prepares to fight the rest of the group, thinking that he stole the strongest person's body here, but immediately, BROLY appears in front of him, knocking him down. Once Vegeta explains what just happened, he knows not to kill Ginyu Goku, because they're going to try and trick him instead to get his body back. While Ginyu Goku's on the ground, he immediately can tell that BROLY's the strongest one here. And he falls right into BROLY's trap. He tries to swap bodies with BROLY. Too bad for him, BROLY reacts faster than Ginyu's beam can even hit him, quickly jumping to the ground, picking up Ginyu's original body, putting Goku and Ginyu back into their original bodies. BROLY was smart not to hurt Goku too much. He only hit him hard enough to stun him, but not to hurt him. While Ginyu's now in his original body bleeding out, and Goku heals relatively quickly. Now Recoom's alone, and he knows he's heavily outmatched, but he tries to attack the group when they're not looking. Goku senses this and flares back at him immediately. With a single backhanded punch, Recoom is knocked far away. And Recoom then tries to leave to tell Frieza what's going on. Goku introduces himself to BROLY, and is happy to meet him as well as being impressed with him. And he's caught up about everything that happened on Namek. The good thing is now they can sense where Recoom is heading off to, and that he's ratting them out to Frieza, so this presents an opportunity. Frieza will probably leave his ship to come to this area, so as long as they disperse right now and remain under cover, they can all then meet up at Frieza's ship and get the last ball while he tries to survey this area. Goku puts his ship in a capsule, and they all split up, then coalescing at Frieza's ship to find the last ball. This plan actually worked. Frieza was stupid enough to go with Recoom and head back to the area, and Frieza scolds Recoom for letting them go once he sees that no one's there. It's completely empty, save for Goldo and Ginyu's dead body, and an unconscious Jason Birder. Jason Birder actually wake up, and they're pretty confused about what just happened, and they're caught up to speed. It seems the Ginyu force is back in action, baby. Well, only 3 of them at least. Frieza sends the 3 of them to split up and search around for the Dragon Balls, while Frieza will head back to his ship for now. As long as he has 1 ball, he'll be fine, because he has leverage and he can defend it pretty effectively. Frieza gets back to the ship and he's immediately furious, knowing that they stole the Dragon Ball. He begins blowing up mountains around him in blind rage, thinking that they're near there and they're possibly not too far away. He goes into his second form and he isn't playing around anymore. He's gonna hunt these guys down himself and kill them at any cost. Far away, Nail sensed this. Frieza's tantrum can be sensed across the planet. Nail is still pretty confident, and if this is Frieza's full power, they may still have a chance. Although Frieza does seem to be incredibly strong. Can BROLY really contend with him? They'll have to see. But then Nail senses something else. Someone's heading towards him. Recoom is coming to Guru's place, having sensed Nail on the scouter, trying to find any Dragon Balls. This place definitely has to have something in it. While the group returns to Bulma to summon Porunga, Nail now has to fight Recoom. Recoom and Nail encounter each other, and begin fighting. Recoom's a little too occupied to notice that the sky's turning black, he is kinda dumb. But Nail notices this and knows that everything's going well. If only he can hold off Recoom for now. While Porunga is summoned, they begin deciding on a wish. They're surprised that it happened this quickly, but it's for the better, because now they decide to wish Piccolo back, and then they realize that they need another wish to bring him to Namek. No problem though, they still have 1 wish which they could probably use to do something good with. They start thinking about what they want to use for the last wish, and then Porunga disappears. Guru has died due to stress. All the stuff happening around the planet, and now Nail is dying against Recoom. BROLY is concerned, immediately realizing that this meant Guru died. He's distraught about the loss of Guru and a little saddened, but he knew this would come eventually. But this is sooner than he expected. What could have hastened his death? All the stress around the planet? Immediate danger? Or, worst of all, did someone actually kill him? BROLY begins stressing out, and he tells everyone he'll be right back, trying to suppress his rage and sadness as well as his power, as he rockets over towards the area. Then, the worst happens. He senses that Nail is in danger, nearly dying. Of course, Frieza approaches too because he saw Porunga, so the group immediately leaves this area, and it becomes a game of chase, as they now have to try and avoid Frieza while BROLY returns. Recoom has defeated Nail, nearly killing him, and decides to head into Guru's palace. As Nail lays on the ground, he then sees someone else coming towards him. It's another Namekian, but he doesn't recognize this one. The Namekian introduces himself. His name's Piccolo. Piccolo's a bit worried, trying to figure out what happened here. But then another power approaches the area, and Nail recognizes this one. It's BROLY. Piccolo already knows who this is, as King Kai has kept everyone up to speed. Broly lands and curses himself. He wished he brought Dende with him. But maybe there's still time to save Nail. If he could bring him back there, no, that's not gonna work. Nail is on the verge of death right now and there's no time to save him. Broly is on the verge of tears and rage, and Nail tells him that everything will be okay. He trusts that Broly can handle this. Piccolo is understandably confused, and then Nail points at him, telling him that he wants to fuse into Piccolo so his death won't be in vain. Taken aback, Piccolo eventually does accept, and Nail becomes part of Piccolo. While Nail is no longer there physically, Broly at least finds comfort in the fact that he lives on through this new Namekian. Recoome then exits Guru's palace and sees everyone there. There's a new Namekian and then some guy with long hair. But he doesn't care because these guys are obviously enemies. The temporary calmness that Broly felt goes away when he realizes that Recoome is the one responsible for Nail's death, as well as Guru. Guru and Nail are gone, and Broly loses it. Piccolo's ready to fight, but alongside him, Broly begins powering up immensely, disturbing both Piccolo and Recoome. It seems like the entire planet is shaking. Broly goes way past his full power, and even changes a bit. His muscles and hair grow, and Recoome's new scouter blows up in his face. Broly's trying to suppress his anger, but he can't, causing him to shout a massive beam of energy from his mouth. This beam hits Recoome and incinerates him instantly. Piccolo looks over, with the Nail part inside of him speaking. This isn't right. Everyone across the planet senses this, including Frieza as well as Jason Birder, all of whom were just chilling when their scouters suddenly exploded. They even see the beam of energy in the distance. Goku's group senses this as well, concerned. Broly then looks up at Piccolo, seemingly in a blind rage but also trying to control himself. His eyes are glowing a fierce yellow. Broly is partially losing control of his anger. He's trying to keep it under wraps, but he can't. Immediately, he begins seeking out Frieza while trying to control this new power, and Piccolo attempts to keep up with him. Broly's power boost was frighteningly dramatic here, and even after his fusion it's a little tough for Piccolo to keep up. Broly rockets across the planet, and midair, he collides with Frieza. The shockwave from this collision is enough to send Jason Birder flying in another direction. They're still alive and they're kinda out of their league here. Injured from this clash, Frieza recollects himself as he goes into his third form, only to get instantly demolished right after, even after transforming. Broly knows for sure, after seeing those two guys flying with Frieza, he knows they were under his command, just like that guy that went and killed Nail. Not that he had any doubts before, but this just serves to make him even angrier. Recoome wasn't the only one he had to worry about. Realizing this, Broly loses even more control, causing him to get a bit sloppy with his fighting. He was able to retain it a bit earlier on, but now it's getting harder and harder to control his anger. And this is perfect for Frieza, because it leaves an opening for him to transform once more into his final form. He's surprised that a monkey was able to grow this strong, but he still doesn't seem like enough to compete with his final form. Sensing all this going down, eventually, the rest of the group arrives alongside Piccolo. Too bad they have to save the reunion with Piccolo for later on, because they're preoccupied with this giant fight going on. Surprisingly, even in his final form, Broly is still fighting Frieza pretty well. Broly is actually above Frieza in terms of power right now, at least when Frieza's at 50%. But with him having no control over himself right now, it evens it out and gives Frieza a bit of an advantage. This is pretty much the last arc where power levels are relevant, so why not cover them here before they become completely useless? It'll also be a good way to gauge Broly's strength. Let's cover everyone in their base forms, starting with Broly, who we're going to place around 8 million in base. Some people might say that's a little bit too high, but you gotta consider who Broly is. With all his life of training, it seems pretty reasonable, and some other people might be saying this is too low. And yeah, even though Broly has been training and has had a good life, he hasn't experienced true combat here, so he's not seeing his full potential. I feel like 8 million is reasonable. It makes him very strong, but not overpowered. Behind him I would place Piccolo. He doesn't seem to have an official power after fusing with Nail, but I'd assume he's above 1 million, which is exactly where we're going to place Goku here. Goku didn't get hurt as badly by the Ginyu Force, but he still got beat up a bit, so instead of going to 3 million like he was after he fought Ginyu, he's going to be around 1 million. And we got a huge gap here because next is Gohan at 100,000, who is also weaker than normal because he didn't get to face Recoome like before. No neck snapping I guess would mean that he's not going to get as big of a boost in power when he heals. Krillin's actually pretty lucky, he's the same power here at 75,000. And as for Vegeta, he probably has the worst luck because he's only at 60,000 right now. Because once again, less fighting experience for everyone, meaning less Zenkais. And I don't think he's going to ask Krillin to shoot him here to exploit a power boost. It's too risky at the moment and could alert Frieza of where they are, and is it really going to have any payoff? He considers it, but he's not going to go forward with it. While Broly and Frieza continue clashing, Jason Birder eventually regain consciousness and get up. Up in the sky they see Frieza in his final form facing off against Broly. And not too far away they see Goku and his group again. With the rest of their group dead, they decide they should make a decision together about retreating or not. They gotta get a unanimous vote from the Ginyu Force though. Both Jace and Birder vote to retreat, and that's a unanimous vote right there. Good for them. They run away and get their space pods. No one even notices them leaving. And yeah, this is a bit of a comedic scene, but it will come into play later on. Not in this part, but you'll see what I mean. Frieza is badly hurt against BROLY, and decides to finally unleash his full power, 100%, at the cost of his stamina. And this is where BROLY begins losing ground. BROLY would be around 80 million in Wrathful, assuming that Wrathful is just a 10 times multiplier like Great Ape, which is the assumption we're going to go with here. However, Frieza in full power is around 120 million. Before at 50% he was only at 60 million, so this huge boost puts him way ahead of BROLY. But the thing is, BROLY is actually starting to regain control here. Instead of being consumed by anger, he's calmed down a little bit, enough to actually have some sort of control. He's amazed by this new power, but it doesn't seem like it'll be enough to defeat Frieza at his 100% full power. But whatever this form is, it definitely is interesting, and he's going to try to make the most of it by fighting Frieza even if it means he's going to die. Frieza is a little bit injured from before, both from his clash when he was in his second form, and from fighting BROLY before he actually went full power. He may have a shot, but the chance is very slim. Frieza then notices, not too far away, he has some spectators. Just to be an ass, he decides to wipe them out for being pests. BROLY launches a giant attack at him, but instead, Frieza grabs it and is able to redirect it, flinging it towards the Earthlings. This should be enough to take them out. Throwing up a giant pillar of smoke, this only serves to anger BROLY more, thinking that his own blast actually killed them, but on the ground, there's a different story. Goku and Piccolo try to react as quickly as possible, basically acting as human shields. Together, their full power blasts combined were just enough to actually deflect BROLY's attack. But the thing is, they weren't quick enough to get everyone behind them right away, and it turns out there was more blasts from BROLY than just that one. Explosions surround the area, and they try their best to defend. As the smoke clears, Goku goes around making sure everyone's okay. He's a bit injured, and so is Piccolo, but overall they're alright. But then, he sees something that terrifies him. In a crater, lying there, is his best friend, Krillin. Goku can't believe what he's seeing. Frieza mocks BROLY after deflecting his blast, also assuming that all the Earthlings just died, and blaming it on BROLY for launching those ki blasts. How dare he kill innocents like that? BROLY's even more enraged but continues to try and control himself, because faintly, he can sense the energies of everyone down there. They're injured, but they're definitely okay. He notices that something doesn't seem right though, but he can't dwell on it too long because he's losing ground against Frieza. And then, BROLY realizes what happened. He and Frieza are both distracted, as they see a golden explosion on the ground nearby. Out from a crater, carrying a dead Krillin, is Goku, except he looks different. His hair is golden, and Vegeta immediately knows what this means. He's a Super Saiyan. Frieza is paralyzed with fear when seeing this, leaving him open from an attack from BROLY, sending him spiraling down to the ground. While the group of Earthlings is terrified about Goku's transformation, Dende goes up to Goku and heals him, hoping that this will help defeat Frieza. Goku tells everyone to leave immediately, as he thanks Dende for healing him and thanks everyone else for their help. As Frieza gets up from the ground, he sees Goku standing in front of him, as BROLY descends to the ground to join him. This duo will now fight Frieza together. Seething in anger from seeing the Super Saiyan, Frieza does the only thing that he knows will actually work, and he sends a ki blast right into Namek's core, planning to blow up the planet. Goku and BROLY don't care though. As long as everyone's able to escape, they're fine. They'll still defeat Frieza right here, right now. Thankfully for them, Kami has made a wish on Earth to revive all the Namekians. And while Goku and BROLY fight Frieza, Krillin, Gohan, Vegeta, and Dende are all able to find Porunga, and they ask for one last wish. Wish everyone off Namek, with the exception of Goku, BROLY, and Frieza. They wish Goku and BROLY luck. Even Vegeta does. The Saiyan race will finally be avenged, and he's more than happy, especially to see the Super Saiyan here. Together, Goku and BROLY are both able to overpower Frieza, and Goku being there actually helps out a lot, especially since he just got healed by Dende, which gave him another power boost. Regardless though, even without that boost, collectively they're still stronger than Frieza, and Frieza's pretty injured here. And that concoction means that together, they're able to win. And while Goku does consider sparing Frieza, BROLY can't forgive him that easy. As vengeance for the destruction of his planet and the death of his mentor, once the two of them get Frieza down, BROLY finishes him off, killing him. Will these two be able to escape now though? They rush around the planet, trying to find a ship. Goku mentions he saw 2 pods leaving not too long ago, and then BROLY remembers. Those must have been the Ginyu Force guys that escaped. And the thing is, 5 of them actually showed up, which means there should be 3 more Ginyu pods around here. Making haste, they're able to find those. And not knowing how to control them, Goku and Broly board their own ships, and were sent off to wherever the Ginyu Force was targeting. For the next few months, life continues normally on Earth, as it did in the original story. Krillin, Yamcha, Tenshinhan, and Chaozu are all wished back to life, and Namek is wished back as well. They do wish to bring Goku, as well as Broly, all the way to Earth, but it seems like they don't want to come. They can understand why Broly doesn't want to, maybe he just wants to return to Namek, but why not Goku? Well, it turns out, they're both on a planet together training. Their ships took them to Yardrat, and for the past few months, they've been training non-stop there, planning to stay there for a few more months. They were barely able to escape Namek, but they managed to get here, and this place has some pretty cool techniques. Goku is more so focused on learning Super Saiyan, trying to access it again and be able to do it at will. And he finds one technique that he's pretty interested in called instant transmission. Broly, on the other hand, isn't too interested in Super Saiyan, at least not at the moment. He feels that he could learn that at any time. He's actually more intrigued by the rest of the spirit training that the Yardrats do. So he focuses on learning instant transmission and other techniques that control spirit. And he learns some pretty crazy ones, such as multiplication, gigantification, stuff like that. It's weird but seems really useful. Once he's back on Namek, he's going to work towards getting his wrathful state back, and possibly even trying to get Super Saiyan. But for now, he'd rather take the opportunity of learning everything that Yardrat can teach him. The two train together for about a year, and after this year passes, Goku and Broly decide they're both going to head their separate ways. Well, it's not as simple as that. Goku decides he wants to return to Earth, and invites Broly to come along with him. But Broly actually declines this. He's glad about the invite and thanks Goku, and he's glad to have met him, as well as being very grateful for Goku helping save Namek, alongside all of his friends. But Broly actually wants to return to Namek. It is his home after all, and he wants to go back. Maybe sometime in the future he will visit Earth somehow. I mean, especially with instant transmission, he can go whenever he wants. But for now, he does want to return home. It's been too long. Goku understands. And oddly enough, he takes a space pod back, instead of using instant transmission. He thanks Broly and all the Yardrats, saying goodbye as he heads off. As Goku flies home in the pod, Broly decides he's going to test something out, and try and use instant transmission to get to Namek. Oddly enough, he can't find the planet. He knows for sure it was wished back, but after some searching, he's able to find it. Apparently, they wish for it to go to a new location as well, which is probably a smart move in the long run. He was a little bit concerned for a second. Did it actually blow up again? Nope, everyone just moved. After some searching, he's able to find it. He says goodbye to the Yardrats and thanks them for their training, as he disappears out of sight, going back to his home world. While everything seems peaceful, it's not really going to go that way. Broly thought he killed Frieza, but it turns out he didn't. Frieza has insane survivability, and he was able to survive, just barely. Plus, Jace and Bert are out there somewhere doing something, so we've got a little bit of setup for the later parts. And it's probably not going to be what you think, but I feel like this part's covered enough. So let's end off here for now and save that cliffhanger for next time. So the reason I took a short break from this scenario is because I really didn't know where to go with it. But we did meet the light goal and there was a lot of demand. The thing is with the last part, it ends with Broly going back to Namek, which would happen. I mean, I'm sure my boy wouldn't just leave and go to Earth. It makes no sense. So he goes back there and chills. While on Earth, a lot of things remain the same. The android in Cell Saga goes pretty normally, except Frieza doesn't show up on Earth, obviously. But there's no real major changes. Trunks actually does hear about Broly, which interests him, and he remembers that Bulma mentioned Broly. Yes, Broly actually exists in that timeline too. But they never saw him after Namek, and Trunks doesn't know how to contact him. It's something interesting to keep in mind though. Future Broly exists, with the same backstory. However, he did remain on Namek, much like the one in the present timeline, and also like the Broly in the present timeline, he's wondering, what's been going on with Earth? It would be nice if he could find it somehow. Let's take a short detour here actually and explain future Broly. He can't sense the androids and there's not many strong keys for him on Earth, so he's having a hard time finding it, even if he just wants to check it out. He hopes everything's okay and that this means everything's peaceful there. But what he doesn't realize is that all these key sources are gone because mostly everyone's dead. At least all the strong people. Back to the present timeline, this applies to present Broly as well. He doesn't know what's going on Earth, but he does pay attention to keys around the universe. Briefly, during the fight between Gohan and Cell, he senses this huge flare-up and realizes this is where Earth is. He remembers Gohan's key. And he senses Cell too. What is this? He's a mix of a bunch of other keys. Not to mention, not too long beforehand, he saw Goku again, once he came to Namek to pick up Dende. It was nice to catch up with him, and he promised that he would visit Earth sometime. And it seems like now's not the time. He does consider intervening, but it seems like everyone's got it handled. As for the Buu Saga, Broly also still remains on Namek. But, towards the end, he does get involved. He pays close attention to everything happening, now that he knows where Earth is, and he can sense all these strong keys. I mean, it's not really something he can ignore either, especially when Goku goes Super Saiyan 3. He can tell this is Goku, but what is happening? Holy crap. Broly begins seeing from this point on, yeah, things are pretty bad on Earth right now. But just when he's about to intervene, he senses everyone's keys drop, and feels like the fighting's over. But sure enough, it's the Buu Saga, so fights keep on flaring up. And at one point he even senses Goku and Vegeta together, not the two of them fighting together, like both of their keys combined somehow. And they're fighting what feels like Gohan and Piccolo and someone else mixed with another person? This is all really confusing for him, and a little dangerous. He doesn't want to intervene right now. But as soon as all those energies drop once again, Broly briefly departs Namek. He wants to make sure Earth is okay, and this is around the point where Buu begins transforming into Kid Buu. Goku and Vegeta watch in disgust as he transforms. Look how weak he is now. He's definitely not a threat, right? Unfortunately, he still is. Kid Buu grins. He launches an attack towards the two, and it's blocked by someone else. They see who it is, Broly. What's he doing here? Well, he wanted to make sure Earth was okay, and it seems it still isn't. There's still this threat right in front of him. And it's good because it seems like he came at the right time, because soon after, Buu decides to blow up Earth. Oh crap, but Broly being here actually helps. He wasn't sure if he should have intervened before, but now seems like a good time. With an extra person being able to teleport, he's able to grab some people that Goku couldn't, quickly snatching up Piccolo, Goten, Trunks, and Gohan, throwing two of them in Vegeta's hands. And just barely, Shin arrives in time to help them escape. They're now in the sacred world of Kai's, with an unconscious group of fighters, and Broly. Quickly, Kibito goes over to everyone and heals them. And while they're saddened by the loss of Earth, Broly brings up, they still have Namek's Dragon Balls and he'd be glad to help them. Oh yeah, they forgot about this. Just as they're trying to catch Broly up to speed, and as everyone else wakes up from being healed, Kid Buu teleports to the same planet they're on. Oh no. But actually, it's okay this time. Broly talks some sense into Goku and gets him to realize they need as much power as possible to fight. Goku shouldn't take on Kid Buu alone. Broly, Vegeta, and even Gohan are going to join in the fight. And with the four of them together, it actually kind of seems like overkill. Ultimate Gohan, Super Saiyan 3 Goku, Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta, and Broly all fight Buu together. And Broly actually shows something off here. Through all of his training on Namek, and from what he saw with Goku, he was able to get his own Super Saiyan form, but it seems a little different from everyone else's. Nonetheless, it's really, really powerful. Even without Broly, it would have been overkill against Kid Buu, but with Broly, it's just extra overkill. I mean, why? This is just playing it really safe. Kid Buu does not survive this. And it seems like all is saved. Now all they need to do is go to Namek and get the Dragon Balls, which the Namekians have already gathered, thanks to Broly's early warning. He had a feeling they might need them, and he actually spent some time gathering them himself. He teleports the group to Namek so they can all watch. This is pretty sick for Goten and Trunks. They get to see 2 new planets in one day. Awesome. 3 wishes are made. 1, restore the planet Earth. 2, revive all the good people that died. Vegeta even gets brought back. Cool. And they don't really know what to do with the 3rd wish, but curiously, Kibito Kai wonders if Porunga can separate them. Turns out he can, and they get separated. Elder Kai is just disgusted by this abuse of the Dragon Balls, but whatever. These guys all help save the universe, so they deserve it. Broly's pretty happy to see everyone again, especially Dende, and he catches up with all of them. He's happy on Namek and his people are prospering. Dende and Piccolo are really glad to hear this. And he notices something different about Piccolo. Another energy is within him. Not only does he have Nail inside, but he has Kami too. That Namekian fusion thing worked out really well for him. And he's happy for Piccolo. Remember, he is part Nail after all, so Broly does care about him. He's even invited to the after party. And I guess this is his first time truly visiting Earth. Well, he did before when it got blown up, but this time he actually gets to visit with it intact. Earth food is pretty good. And even with all the crazy things he heard about and witnessed on this planet, it still seems pretty nice. He hopes to see everyone again soon, and once again goes back to his planet. It was a nice little catch-up, and he actually got to use that Super Saiyan form he trained for. Thank God he hasn't had to use it to defend Namek. It's been pretty peaceful here and he wants to keep it that way. But this isn't his last time on Earth. Far from it, because mere years later, Beerus arrives on Earth, and Battle of Gods also goes similarly to normal, up until the ritual, where they realize they need an extra Saiyan. Before Videl could even step in and reveal that she has Pan, Goku instantly goes to Namek. Broly's surprised to see him there. He hopes something's not wrong with Earth. Goku nonchalantly says that everything's fine, except there is a god of destruction there trying to find a Super Saiyan god. Broly's stomach drops. Beerus is on Earth, and he's looking for a Super Saiyan god. He feels like Goku's really downplaying the gravity of this situation. From all the stuff he's learned through the Namekian legends, I'm sure Broly would know who Beerus is, and maybe even a little bit about the Super Saiyan god. So he assumes they want to do the ritual. Goku's pretty surprised to hear this. Seems like they didn't need to waste a wish on Shenron, they could have just asked Broly. But regardless, Broly decides to join him, and they head to Earth. Beerus is pretty intrigued. This Saiyan seems pretty strong. Is he gonna become the Super Saiyan god? Nope, Goku is. Goku just needed someone extra for the ritual. But yeah, his friend Broly, he's pretty strong. And the ritual does happen like normal. So why didn't they give Super Saiyan God to BROLY? Well, the form does interest him, and he's even offered to get the form and train with Beerus, but he declines. For now, he doesn't really want to be away from Namek for too long. But if Beerus allows, he can visit occasionally during training. He does have instant transmission after all, so it's not like they need to spend gas money to pick him up, or whatever they have to use to fuel Whis. He's basically a taxi for them. But also he avoids the ritual because rather than doing that, he'd want him work for the power, not wanting to have it handed to him. Besides, even though he only has Super Saiyan, right now, he's way stronger than anyone else actually. Well, obviously besides Goku. But BROLY is ahead of pretty much everyone else. And this gets him and a few other people thinking, how strong would BROLY be with Super Saiyan God? While he doesn't go for it right away, he keeps the offer in mind. But now, he's actually gonna get more involved. He does stay on Namek, but he occasionally visits Beerus' planet since he was invited. And sometimes he drops in on Earth. Occasionally he does do some training and is passively exposed to God Ki. The training on Beerus' planet seems pretty rigorous. And in Super Saiyan, he's not able to keep up with Super Saiyan God Goku or Vegeta. At least not at first. He is adapting. We all know how BROLY is, and eventually, he probably would catch up to them, which is crazy to think about. That did basically happen in the BROLY movie after all. And those are much, much stronger versions of Goku and Vegeta. I imagine it wouldn't be too hard here. Even when they eventually get blue, BROLY still keeps up with them. They should have just called him to defeat Frieza. He would have been a good help. And Beerus is getting a little impatient. This guy keeps coming to the planet basically freeloading. Why doesn't he get Super Saiyan God? Beerus wants a good rival, and BROLY seems like the perfect candidate. Well, at least for now, it seems like he's helping motivate Goku and Vegeta because they somehow want to reach his level. And little does he know, he's actually got some God Ki infused within him after all this time training and exposure. And BROLY's beginning to realize, he can't get too much stronger if he trains on Namek. He can still protect it by using it in transmission, and being available whenever to help. He does have some options though, and he begins wondering, should he actually stay with Beerus? Or maybe he could even go to Yardrat? Apparently there's way more in Yardrat that he didn't learn. Some spirit control thing. Maybe he can go back and try and learn that. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think he'd want to visit Yardrat or stay with Beerus for a bit? But besides that, he even gets recruited for the Universe 6 tournament. No Monaka this time. He does have one request though. Can he bring all the Namekians with him to watch? And this creates for a pretty funny situation. While there's all the people on Earth there, most of the bleachers are filled with Namekians. A giant green crowd is looming over the whole match. Hey, they haven't been off the planet in a while. It would be nice to leave for a bit and go to this tournament. Beerus is a little annoyed by this request, but he allows it because of how strong BROLY is, and he knows he's a valuable asset. And needless to say, the Universe 6 tournament is won. And you may be wondering, Salad, why did you just skip over that whole arc? Well, for one, I mean it's pretty obvious that they're going to win, they got BROLY on their team. But two, it's because I wanted to save some time. Because we're going to talk a little bit about time travel. Once again moving to the future, because we're going to talk about future BROLY. I mentioned him briefly in the beginning of the video, but let's go more in depth here. Future BROLY is just enjoying his peace on Namek, but this time, he senses something strong. Kinda like present BROLY during the Buu saga, he senses something malicious on Earth. See, in the present timeline, BROLY thought it would be okay. There's a bunch of other strong power levels there. He sensed Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and Piccolo. It seemed like they have it under control. But future BROLY has a different reaction. He only says his 3 good powers, and he doesn't recognize them. Just to make sure, he double checks. This is Earth after all. And he's getting a little concerned. Something seems very, very wrong. Why aren't Goku and Vegeta joining the fight? More importantly, where's Piccolo? It is Nail after all, and he's really hoping that Piccolo didn't die. Gohan, Krillin, and everyone else as well. While this fight's going on, BROLY decides out of curiosity that he wants to check out Earth, just to make sure everything's okay. He teleports there and surprises everyone, interrupting a life-or-death battle. A battle which involves Trunks, Shin, and Kibito versus Deborah and Babidi. He asks if this is Earth and if Goku is there, and Trunks awkwardly says that he's dead. But yeah, this is Earth. This is a surprise for BROLY, who introduces himself, and Trunks remembers his name. So this guy's BROLY, the Saiyan from Namek. Huh, looks like they actually found him. Cool. Babidi and Deborah are pissed with all this chit-chat, and Shin and Kibito are just confused. So while everyone's distracted, Deborah decides to attack BROLY, swinging his sword at the Saiyan. BROLY quickly flares into Super Saiyan, and with a single swipe of his finger, he slices the sword in half. What? They were having so much trouble with Deborah, and then this guy comes in able to handle him so easily. Deborah even tries spitting on BROLY. But BROLY's quick enough to dodge. He doesn't even need to be warned. He can just tell. Someone spitting on him, that's not something he wants to get hit with. He's far too strong and far too fast for Deborah. Using instant transmission, he gets behind the Majin servant, aiming his hand upwards and launching a blast that kills Deborah. Babidi was happy before because it seemed like this guy would be a good source of energy. But now he's just scared. Really scared. And rightfully so because Trunks kills him right after. Shin and Kibito are amazed, as is Trunks. So now that they have free time, it's actually time for some explanations. BROLY explains that he came here because he was concerned, and he knew Goku before. Apparently he just saved Earth. Huh, I guess that's a debt repaid from Namek before. But yeah, he's glad that he could help. Wait, Trunks remembers, this guy's from Namek. That means he has Dragon Balls, right? Sadly, it turns out BROLY can't revive Goku. BROLY explains, Goku did die from natural causes, and that's something that can't be fixed. But there is still some hope. Porunga can revive some people. Porunga's been upgraded so that he can revive groups. But since the Dragon Team's been dead for over a year, they can't all be revived together. If Trunks decides to do that, which he might not even do, they would all have to be revived separately. However, he's still happy to help and lend some wishes, and his first goal is to restore all the damage done to Earth by Deborah and Babidi, then reviving everyone killed by them, essentially nullifying all their damage. Shin and Kibito take an interest in this guy, alongside their interest in Trunks, a Saiyan raised on Namek and a hybrid Saiyan. Definitely a weird combo in two very interesting cases, also two very strong cases. Speaking of Shin and Kibito, Shin lives, which means Beerus lives. As for the future timeline, I might keep this as a side story depending on what happens in the next part, and this will be all up to you guys. I'm going to pose you a question. Do you think Zamasu will be deterred from this timeline because Beerus is here, or do you think he'll still show up? Because if he doesn't show up, this will remain as a side series, since the future timeline won't be intertwined with the present timeline. It'll be easier to keep everything organized. So as requested, we will be covering what happened with future Trunks and future BROLY. The first portion of this video will be dedicated to that timeline, but it directly ties into the present timeline, and you'll see what I mean in a bit. Following BROLY's arrival on Earth in the future, Shin and Kibito decided that they want to train Trunks and BROLY. Trunks is glad to go, but as for BROLY, he's still a permanent resident of Namek, so he's only going to visit occasionally. Thankfully, with instant transmission, he can move between planets pretty easily, allowing him to have this flexible schedule. Trunks remains with Shin and Kibito as a student. They're very impressed with this mortal, as expected of someone who's part Saiyan. He is making some great progress in his training as well, as is BROLY, even though he isn't here as frequently. Things in Universe 7 remain somewhat normal, but one day, Shin tells Trunks that they need to be on high alert. Trunks of course is concerned, he's never seen Shin so upset. The way he said it makes it seem like there's some sort of threat coming their way, and there is. Shin explains, he's heard from Universe 10 that their Supreme Kai, Gowasu, is dead. It could be some freak event, but Shin still wants to remain on alert. It was in a completely separate universe after all, but as a Kai himself, he would want to make this known. But they don't know who is responsible for killing Gowasu or why. However, there is one prime suspect. When Gowasu died, the god of destruction of Universe 10 did as well, which is what alerted all the other gods of the other universes. They found Gowasu with a stab wound, and as for his apprentice Kai, Zamasu, he was nowhere in sight. They don't want to jump to conclusions, but at the moment, he is the prime suspect. Although it is entirely possible he was kidnapped or something. But little do they know, that's not the case. Elsewhere in Universe 7, the Super Dragon Balls have been gathered. Zamasu makes his wish, asking to be immortal, with Goku Black watching by his side. The two are now ready to commence their plan, which they call the Zero Mortals plan. And how convenient, they're already in the universe that they want to launch this plan in. They're aware that a mortal from Universe 7 actually messed with time. So not only did they come here for the Super Dragon Balls, but they wanted to make sure that they could fix that, and deal with the mortal that thinks he's above the gods. Beerus is still asleep right now, but Whis makes contact with Shin. He tells Shin someone's gathered the Super Dragon Balls and made a wish. Remaining neutral, Whis doesn't want to get involved, but with Beerus asleep and Whis having Beerus' interest in mind, he does have to tell Shin. The timing seems very coincidental, but who else could use the Super Dragon Balls other than a god? You'd need to know the language to speak to Shenron in. Not to mention, having the ability to go through space and tracking the Dragon Balls down. There's no doubt about it now, it must have been Zamasu. But what is Zamasu up to? Zamasu and Goku Black have a target in mind, and it's not the Supreme Kai first. It's something a little more pressing. We pan over to planet Namek, enjoying its prolonged peace. The Namekians go about their day, with BROLY there unaware of what's happening around the universe. But unexpectedly, he hears explosions and fighting in the distance, and he can sense the ki of some Namekians rising. This definitely isn't any normal training. They're fighting too seriously here. Quickly, BROLY puts his fingers on his forehead and teleports over, even though he can't sense the threat. But when he gets there, his jaw drops. He sees what appears to be a Kai, and someone that looks like Goku. But it obviously isn't Goku, just a look-alike. But who cares if it's Goku or not, because he's attacking the Namekians. BROLY doesn't play around and immediately begins fighting. Goku Black and Zamasu came here first to exterminate the Namekians. They're aware Dragon Balls existed here, and they wanted to make sure no one could revive the Supreme Kai once they kill him. And that's why this planet is their first stop. Goku Black is impressed with BROLY's power, and makes a comment on it. It's too bad though, it won't be enough to save the Namekians and the planet itself. But the thing is though, BROLY's not at full power right now, and he's also starting to feel an anger, an anger which he hasn't felt in a while. Goku Black taunts him more, with Zamasu joining in on the fight. Some Namekians have already died, and the planet is in direct danger. This guy is also impersonating Goku. Broly's anger flares up more, and he turns into Super Saiyan once more. Goku Black is shocked to see this and backs up, flying into the sky. But Broly jumps up, launching himself into the air. He doesn't hold back. He puts all its power into a punch and goes right through Goku Black's chest with it. Zamasu looks in horror as he watches the life fade from Goku Black's eyes, with Broly then flinging him into the ground. Zamasu rushes to heal him, but it's too late. And just as he does, Broly screams, launching a mouth beam towards Zamasu. Broly calms down when he sees Zamasu is completely erased, but is shocked to see him regenerate from nothing. But Zamasu's not cocky right now, he's angered. Summoning all his power, he begins charging a ball of energy, and flies up into the sky. He plans to blow up the planet. He launches an attack, and of course, Broly is able to counter it, but really, it serves as a distraction, because Zamasu realizes he's screwed, and he needs Goku Black to come back. He was able to think really quickly, and his new plan is to gather the Dragon Balls, revive Goku Black, and then make him immortal. Then they can destroy this planet. He is panicked at the moment, but the good thing is, he can't be sensed by Broly. Not to mention, he has the Kai Kai, so he's able to move around the planet quickly. But with power surging through him, Broly begins to focus. With the little training he's had with the Kais, he would at least have a trace amount of God Ki within him. And it hits him, that's the reason he couldn't sense Zamasu before. He already briefly had God Ki revealed to him by the Kais, and he assumes that may be the reason he doesn't know where Zamasu is. So he focuses, and it works. He can sense Zamasu, teleporting around the planet. He instant transmits to Zamasu, who's already snuck into a Namekian village and gotten a Dragon Ball. How did Broly find him? He shouldn't have been able to be sensed. Broly keeps beating him down. Even if Zamasu can't die, Broly can still hurt him at least and hold him off. Telepathically, Broly warns all the Namekians to hide. But Zamasu laughs. He could hear the warning and tells Broly. It's not like it matters though. Broly is still holding Zamasu off. And getting angrier by the minute. Who does this guy think he is? He needs to control his anger though. He doesn't want to lose control. It's been a while since that happened, but it might again. However, 5 people suddenly show up on Namek. One of them is Trunks and he sees Broly, asking if he's alright. Broly's beginning to calm down, and he sees Shin and Kibito there as well. But he doesn't recognize the other two, although their mere presence terrifies Zamasu. One of them, a purple catman, walks up right to Zamasu. Zamasu stutters as he mumbles the words, "Lord Beerus." Beerus is pretty sleepy right now, he just woke up, and he's angered that he even had to be awoken. So he's not gonna mess around here. He lifts his hand up and tries to casually erase Zamasu, but Zamasu laughs as he regenerates. Oh, an immortal. What a pity. Shin and Trunks paralyze Zamasu to hold him in place, while Beerus turns to Whis. Although he can't kill Zamasu, he can still do something else with him. Whis generates a shield made of Kachikachin. Shin and Kibito immediately perk up at the appearance of it. It's very reminiscent of the Z-Sword. That sword must have come from Beerus then. Not only is the shield made of the strongest material in the multiverse, but it's imbued with a seal to make it even stronger. Beerus lifts up the shield and taps Zamasu with it. As Beerus says goodbye, Zamasu's confused, but suddenly he gets sucked into the shield, getting sealed within it. What a pest. Wait, Shin and Kibito are confused. Does that mean someone's sealed within the Z-Sword too? Beerus tells them, don't worry about that, that's something completely different. Not some crazy threat, just a nuisance. Beerus hands the shield to Whis, as Broly thanks them for their help and bows down. He's heard about them, but he hasn't seen them yet. And he tells him about the Goku imposter too. They go over to where Goku Black's body is. Trunks is appalled to see a Goku look like, but Broly assures it's not actually Goku. He had something to do with Zamasu and was working with him, but Broly doesn't have the slightest idea of what was going on here. He was just protecting his planet. And this is what I mentioned in the beginning of the video. This ties directly into the present timeline, because with all this happening, the Zamasu arc has been prevented. Sure, there's still a giant mess to clean up, but all has gone well. And you know, Beerus has an interest in this Broly guy. Same with Trunks. He did have a dream about some Saiyan, someone who could be his rival, but that's another story for another day. The future timeline gets to remain. Broly and Trunks have somewhat of a happy ending, or really, a new beginning. And that means we could transition over back to the present timeline, which is going peaceful at the moment. Unbeknownst to them, they just avoided a huge threat. Zamasu still could be an issue in this timeline, but he's smart about it. First of all, he never has an encounter with Goku, which angers him, because Goku has no reason to go to Universe 10 here. Also, if he ever did consider going through with his plan, he could use the time ring to view other timelines and see what was going on with Zamasu's there. And covertly, he'd look in and see, yeah, he's screwed. So it's best to stay put here. Crisis avoided in both timelines. And in the last part, I left something up to you guys. What did you want to do with Broly's training? We mentioned that Broly wanted to leave Namek temporarily, just to get some good training in. And the two options were training with Beerus and Whis, or training on Yardrat, and many said Yardrat, and I agree. First of all, Broly training with Beerus seems a little, well, predictable, frankly. I've done it before, other people have done it before, so it wouldn't really be too interesting. But the big reason why I prefer Yardrat is because it fits Broly better in my opinion. Sure, Broly is strong, but this version of Broly is much smarter and a much more analytical fighter, and he's already had training on Yardrat. He could always pursue Super Saiyan God later. Instead, now, he'd rather surpass his normal Super Saiyan state, as well as wanting to learn those Yardrat abilities that he's heard about before, but abilities that he didn't have time to learn. He was always curious about what the Yardrats had in mind, so he wants to go there and see what they had for training. He says goodbye to his fellow Namekians as he teleports away, going to train on Yardrat for another year. His training is uninterrupted, and he grows pretty strong, being able to learn some interesting and powerful new techniques and abilities. In terms of the timing of this is around the time after the Universe 6 tournament ended, which is where we left off with Broly in the last part. So, while Goku and Vegeta are doing their thing, Broly's getting training on Yardrat now. One of his main priorities is ascending Super Saiyan. He's felt before within him, that anger that he once had trouble controlling. If he's somehow able to control it, and harness it, he may be able to use it to power up his Super Saiyan form. If he's able to do this, he'll be unstoppable. He'll be able to defend Namek as effectively as he can. Even though he's really strong with Super Saiyan, he can tell that he can go way above that if he trains. Not to mention, those Yardrat techniques that he wanted to learn. He vaguely heard about them before when he was on Yardrat, but he doesn't know too much about it. Instant transmission is just part of the training. There's a whole separate thing out there called Spirit. And with training on Yardrat, he'll be able to control his spirit and use odd but powerful techniques that can empower him during battle. There's so much to learn here. The Yardrats are basically jacks of all trades. Some of these abilities like gigantification and multiplication are only to help the Yardrats, since they're relatively weak and this makes them look a lot stronger. Of course, things like this may be useful for Broly, but that's not his main interest. He'll pick those up along the way. Really, what he's interested in is two other abilities, both involving spirit control. Of course, one of them is the ability to heal. There are a few Namekians that he knows that have that ability, and if he got that for himself, that would be very useful. But there's also something really odd that the Yardrats know, Force Spirit Fission. It seems extremely complicated to learn, but he wants to do that anyways. It's clear that this technique seems pretty powerful, and it could have a bunch of uses during battle. Not to mention, spirit control as a whole will hone his energy, making him far stronger than before. This training should be very beneficial for him. So he begins training for a few months, almost up to a year. But one day, they get an unexpected visitor on the planet. A familiar face. It's Goku. The Yardrats and Broly are all surprised to see him here. Does he want to train as well? Well, not exactly. Goku explains. As Zeno did mention during the Universe 6 tournament, he wanted to do his own tournament, and now the time has come. Each universe participates in a battle royale. They already had an exhibition match, and now they're looking for their final members of the team. They already have 9, and as for the 10th, Goku decided he wanted Broly to join. He always was considering Broly, but it was easier to get the people on Earth first. He extends his hand out to Broly, wanting to see if he's willing to join the team. Broly is hesitant. He'd rather stay here with his training, and he's also a little bit suspicious. Surely there's a reason for Zeno holding this tournament, right? And Goku has no real reason to hide this from him. Making sure the Yardrats don't hear, Goku pulls Broly aside, telling him in detail what the stakes are. And that's enough to convince Broly. He understands the gravity of this, and of course, he's going to join the team. It's only 48 minutes that he'll be leaving his training. Also, this will be a good opportunity for him to test his new skills, his new advancements of Super Saiyan, and his skills that he learned on Yardrat. But Goku asks Broly one thing. He wants to spar with Broly before the tournament to see where he is in terms of power. Broly doesn't see why not. So Goku takes Broly and teleports him to Earth. He asks Whis if they could be taken somewhere remote, so they could spar without any collateral damage. And Whis takes him to an uninhabited moon, one far away with atmosphere like Earth. No holding back now. Goku goes Blue Kaioken. Broly, this is my full power. Don't pull any punches. As you wish, Goku. I could finally test how well my training has benefited me. I need to practice my voice acting. Broly begins transforming, going Super Saiyan. And Goku's getting excited. A green light begins illuminating the moon that they're fighting on. This isn't normal Super Saiyan. The ground shakes below Goku. No way! The entire planet's shaking! Beerus watches, impressed. This Saiyan is most impressive, isn't he, Whis? Let's see how he compares to our student, though. Goku looks with amazement as Broly stops powering up, finally at his full power. Goku's even shielding his eyes, not only blinded by the aura, but the shockwaves from Broly powering up. He's never seen anything like this before. Broly has shown off his own unique version of Super Saiyan 2. It's essentially like his Super Saiyan full power form that we saw in the Broly movie with the green hair, but mastered and powered up to be Super Saiyan 2. Think of what Kale's Super Saiyan 2 is like, it's essentially that. Well, Goku, are you ready? Broly, you never cease to amaze me. Let's do this. The two fly towards each other. As we left off last time, Broly and Goku were preparing their fight. Goku wants to test out Broly's new power, seeing how he'll perform in the tournament. But it seems Goku may have bitten off more than he could chew. Broly is now powered up, somehow much stronger than before, and it seems like he's still not at his full power yet. This is definitely going to be interesting for them. Right now, Broly's in his strongest form, Super Saiyan 2. And while that may seem impressive, remember, this is Broly, and this is kind of his own unique version of Super Saiyan 2, kind of like how he has the green-haired full power version of Super Saiyan of his own, or how Kale has her own Super Saiyan 2. Not to mention, Broly has spirit control, he's much stronger, and he's able to fight gently while still in this form. It increases and regulates his power. With Goku and Blue, the two clash, and it's clear, Goku is heavily disadvantaged. And remember, Broly's not even at his full strength yet. Goku can tell he's losing ground. He chuckles to himself, now with Blue Kaioken, using Kaioken at its highest level. He's in times 20 right now, which he's had some practice with, although he obviously can't keep this up for long. Broly responds by showing off more of his own power, knocking Goku down relatively easily. Broly thinks the fight's over, but Goku stands back up slowly. He tells Broly he's not done yet, they're going until one of them is knocked out. Broly turns to Beerus and Whis, and they nod, allowing the two to continue. Broly nods in response, ready to continue this fight. And once again, he's knocked down, with Broly still not showing off his full power, and Goku is well aware of this. This keeps repeating. Goku's body is at his limit. He keeps trying to push himself, trying to see if he can fend off Broly. Maybe he can push Kaioken higher. No, that'll only make things worse. But maybe it's worth a try? He needs to break his limits somehow. With some obvious stress, Broly watches as Goku shouts, times 50. Broly's actually kind of concerned. This will definitely kill Goku if he keeps this up. Goku's power is immense, but he's shaking visibly, despite being able to finally land a hit on Broly. But as he lands a hit, Broly's able to counter it with his own fist. A shockwave of ki is sent through his body, with Goku's muscles spasming from the clash. Goku falls to the ground, and Broly quickly rushes over to heal him. Goku's definitely in bad shape, but somehow, Goku stands up once more, not in blue this time. He's in his base form, somehow still conscious. Broly slowly approaches Goku, as Beerus and Whis yell out to him, remember, the fight only ends when one of them is knocked out. Nervously, Broly nods, as he goes in for one more punch on Goku. Beerus and Whis watch intrigued, as they enjoy an earthly snack called popcorn. This will definitely get interesting. As Broly's punch is about to connect with Goku, it somehow phases through him. Broly's visibly confused, as are Beerus and Whis. That definitely should have done it, and there's no way Goku could have dodged that. So he swings again, but Goku dodges once more, catching Broly's fist over his shoulder. Goku slowly turns around and looks at Broly, his eyes now silver. Broly is very confused as to what he's seeing. Is this some sort of new power Goku's been hiding this whole time? Goku's aura then suddenly flares up, a purplish blue color. Beerus spits out his popcorn. What? Is this what he thinks it is? Broly swings more, but Goku keeps dodging, and then he's able to hit Broly in the chest, an attack that is coordinated and one that Broly actually feels, stumbling back from it. How interesting. Broly doesn't know what this new power is, but he can tell it's something special. He keeps fighting, as Goku is now using Ultra Instinct Omen. Beerus jumps up in amazement, realizing that this is what he thinks it is. Whis is also excited too. It has to be Ultra Instinct. The combined strain from Blue Kaioken, as well as the clash with Broly, that may have acted as a catalyst to activate this for Goku. With his natural competitive nature, Goku's instincts kicked in, trying to somehow win this fight with Broly. But, due to all the stress and injury, Goku quickly loses this form, collapsing to the ground unconscious after displaying this impressive feat. Whis steps up to heal him, but Broly says allow me, wanting to test his new abilities. He's able to fully heal Goku, as Goku then wakes up. Whoa! Okay, for one, Broly just healed him, which is pretty cool. But more importantly, this power that he was just using. Whis tells the two more about it, and Goku begins wondering, is he able to access this for the tournament? Well, if he finds himself in a stressful situation like this, maybe his instincts will kick in once more. But if Goku wants to access this power at will, he's gonna need training. A lot of training. And they don't have enough time for that. It's all up to chance if this will activate during the tournament. If only they had enough time. Wait, time. Goku grins. He has a great idea. He tells Broly to come with him as they teleport back to Earth, ready to use the Room of Spirit in time. But just as the two are about to enter, Vegeta quickly rockets up towards the lookout. Of course he sensed what was going on, and tells Kakarot that he wants to go in the Room of Spirit in time with him, wanting to see what this power is, and wanting to empower himself before the tournament. Broly shrugs it off. He's okay with it, he's strong enough anyways. And not to mention, it's only a few months of training in there. At best, they only have a couple of hours left. So, Goku and Vegeta head in. And not long after, their training is completed. So, Vegeta was able to learn what Ultra Instinct is, but he saw it as kind of useless. It wasn't something Goku was able to access at will. Well, at least it didn't seem like that. Not to mention, it didn't seem ideal in terms of stamina. So Vegeta ended up going his own route, but then later on, they both learned. Goku was barely able to learn how to use this technique at will, with Vegeta already having progressed way past that, going his own route and improving Super Saiyan Blue. So before the tournament, Goku now has access to Ultra Instinct Omen, and Vegeta has Blue Evolution. And not to mention, the two are considerably stronger. And it's just in time too. As soon as they exit, they head towards the tournament. As for the team itself, it's pretty much the same, except with Broly replacing Frieza. However, everyone else is still there, and they pretty much have the same strength as normal, besides Goku and Vegeta. If you remember I mentioned before, not much really changed with Broly being here, since he was only briefly involved with climactic battles. But as the tournament begins, it becomes very clear that Universe 7 is the top dog around here. Many fodder fighters are eliminated relatively easily, but Broly then ends up seeing a fighter that interests him, one that he saw during the Universe 6 tournament, and one that heavily reminds him of someone he hated. It's Frost, amused to see Broly once more. And get this, he has something interesting up his sleeve, turning into his full power form. As Frost bulks up and increases his power, he looks at Broly, hoping to see him quivering in fear. But of course that's not going to happen. Broly essentially has no reaction to this. Is this form supposed to be impressive or something? He actually kind of scoffs at it. Angered, Frost lunges towards Broly, but with a single right hook towards Frost, one so strong that it creates a shockwave, Frost is rocketed out of the arena, crashing into the stands before he falls into the void, unconscious. Broly expected a better fight, but whatever. And of course, people would notice this, particularly the Saiyans from Universe 6, Kale and Caulifla. This Saiyan over here is in base and he seems so strong. He's not even using Super Saiyan. They want to know what he did and how he got so strong. Broly's able to recognize these two actually seem like good people. They definitely don't compare to him in terms of power, but you know what? He might as well have fun here. So, heavily holding back, he begins fighting them, with Caulifla going into Super Saiyan 2. Of course her power is nothing to Broly, but nonetheless he's surprised to see another person with Super Saiyan 2, at least one that's not from his universe. Caulifla's impressed, he's still holding her back, and she wants Broly to get serious. But she also wants to find out how he got so powerful. She's fighting Broly alone, as Kale watches. She sees that Broly is stealing Caulifla from her, getting jealous and inevitably raging out, as Kale then goes into her berserk form. Broly looks on, knowing exactly what this is. It looks so much like the one Broly had struggled with before. He knows these two are very inexperienced, and even for someone like him with his experience, he had trouble regulating that power. If Kale continues using it, the results will be disastrous. She'll end up killing someone in the arena, or maybe even herself. He tells Caulifla about it, saying that this form is bad news, saying he has to eliminate Kale right now. Caulifla's a bit skeptical, it seems like an excuse, but Broly then reveals he has a similar form, showing that he knows how dangerous it is. He transforms, donning the similar green hair, and immediately her skepticism disappears. If anything, she's concerned now. Yeah, she's amazed by Kale's strength, but she didn't know this side of it. And if Broly's saying it's dangerous, well, she'll trust him. Kale attacks Broly, swing, but her attacks don't do anything. Broly doesn't even need to fight her in this form, he was just showing it to Caulifla to get her trust. But as he planned, he still needs to eliminate Kale somehow. He says to the two Saiyans after the tournament, he'll probably help teach them some more. He's sorry to have to do this, but he begins charging an attack. The entire arena rumbles, with Caulifla concerned that he's gonna kill Kale. But no, this was just a show of force. And Kale is still not deterred. Simple enough then, he'll have to knock her out. The rumbling stops, and then he shouts. Almost everyone in the arena has to cover their ears, as a shockwave is sent through. A single powerful Ki, one launched simply from the magnitude of his voice. This pressurized air blast hits Kale, immediately knocking her into a base form and knocking her unconscious as he launches off the side of the ring. The rest of the universe is just looking terror, with Caulifla and now Kaba looking in amazement. Whoa, Kaba knew about this guy before obviously, but he barely got to see his strength during the Universe 6 tournament, or at least not something on this level. Caulifla then pulls out a Patara earring, considering the idea of fusing with Kaba, but Broly picks up on this. He knows about these earrings all too well, from what Goku has told him and of course from all the Namekian research he has. Also, as he was told, items are banned here, so regardless he's going to destroy them. He aims a tiny, precise blast that destroys one of the earrings. And with one more air blast, he knocks Caulifla out. These Saiyans definitely have much more to learn. Meanwhile, Goku and Vegeta are fighting alone, pretty much like normal, and they stun the rest of the team with their strength. This tournament is actually just kind of a wash. I mean, obviously you have BROLY here for one, but you have a stronger Goku and Vegeta, with Vegeta having access to Blue Evolution. And while Goku isn't really using it, he has access to Ultra Instinct Omen if he needs. And even in Super Saiyan Blue, he's insanely powerful. Eventually, this leads to Goku going to fight Jiren. And the fight starts normally, except he doesn't go towards the Spirit Bomb. No, he continues fighting. Instead of stopping at Blue Kaioken, he then goes up to Ultra Instinct Omen, shocking Jiren as Goku powers up greatly. Whatever this technique is, it allows Goku to greatly outpace him, and he has some pretty crazy power as it is now. Goku is stronger and Jiren can't seem to hit him, but as Jiren releases some more of his power, he's able to slightly gain an advantage. Goku's pretty impressed, he thought this power was infallible. But then, Vegeta joins in to help, using Super Saiyan Blue Evolution. They're able to actually hold off Jiren a bit, but they can't seem to defeat him. Jiren's power is just amazing, and he's still not done powering up yet. However, there is one other ally that they have that could really help them, and that is BROLY. Jiren receives a powerful kick to his back, and as he stumbles forward, someone then punches him in the face. Teleporting around him is BROLY, here to help. And the thing is, now that he landed a hit on Jiren, he could actually test out that new Spirit Fission thing he learned, but he decides against it. It would be more interesting to use his other techniques in his physical strength instead. His Saiyan blood flares up within him. While he doesn't want to finish this, he still does want to have a bit of fun. And of course, with BROLY now here, and with how powerful BROLY is in the scenario, the three of them are able to take Jiren head on. The tables have turned in their factor. Jiren ends up showing his full power, but still, against that entire trio, it's not enough. The group is able to defeat Jiren, so that means their strongest obstacle is now out of the way. And although they have lost a few members, like the humans, Universe 7 still has a lot of fighters, more than anyone else. And you know what? BROLY's had his fun. So he lent a little bit of energy to everyone to let them have their fun. Lifting his hands up, he then suddenly heals everyone in Universe 7, using some of his ki in the process. This restores everyone's health, and they're easily able to pick off the remaining fighters in the arena. The most problematic ones are Toppo and Hit, but Vegeta and Goku are respectively able to take them down. Goku actually has some fun against Hit, but of course he has to hold back to enjoy this fight. He's interested in Hit's new powers, but Goku ends up taking the win eventually. And Vegeta's fight with Toppo in his God of Destruction mode, well, Vegeta greatly outpaces him. Having Blue Evolution right from the start, having a full heal, and having more experience with the form and more power, well, it's clear that he would win. And thus, Universe 7 wins the tournament, pretty easily in fact. BROLY is the MVP, and he gets to pick the wish. So what do you think BROLY would wish for? Well, I think it seems pretty obvious. BROLY is a righteous person after all. A morally sound intellect. There's of course only one option that he would want to go for. Restoring every universe. And obviously, that means the tournament is wrapped up pretty neatly. But we're not done yet. Back on his homeworld of Namek, BROLY's life returns to normal. But of course there's an incoming threat. That being Moro. BROLY can sense that Goku, Vegeta, and some other people are on the way. But it seems like they might not need them. Moro lands on Namek as the Namekians then stand up against him. It seemed like the Namekians may be enough, but it turns out Moro's able to steal their energy. As soon as he's about to eat it, it's suddenly taken out of his mouth. Given back to those Namekian warriors, Moro looks and sees nearby. A Saiyan is standing there. What's a Saiyan doing on Namek? Moro didn't even realize, but the Saiyan hit him during that battle. No matter though, Moro can defeat him easily. Too bad for Moro, this is no normal Saiyan. And BROLY lets Moro know this. His body is that of a Saiyan, but his heart and mind, it's one of a Namekian, as he lands a powerful punch on Moro. Moro wipes the blood from his face, grinning. The Saiyan is brimming with energy, he'll make for a great snack. As he tries to steal BROLY's energy, suddenly, the opposite happens. BROLY begins taking his energy. Moro begins feeling weaker. He starts to show more signs of age, his beard grows longer, he gains more wrinkles. His attacks and even his magic aren't even that effective. All the energy he has returns to its various homes, spreading across Namek and the universe as BROLY returns it. BROLY knows what Moro's up to, but too bad for Moro because BROLY has something similar. While Spirit Fission doesn't really make fights fair, and he didn't really want to use it, well, it levels the playing field here. And also, this guy threatened Namek. BROLY will defeat him. And with a single attack, Moro is killed by BROLY. And just as this happens, the Galactic Patrol lands on Namek, seeing nothing but a few warrior Namekians and BROLY standing there in front of the smoldering crater. Mayris looks on in confusion. Wait, did they defeat Moro? Goku and Vegeta chuckle. Ah, they forgot to tell Mayris about BROLY. And the whole Galactic Patrol is just stunned. What kind of power does this guy have? Well, awkwardly, Mayris just thanks him, as do Goku and Vegeta. It looks like they can go back home. Well, BROLY says no need for thanks. He was just doing his job protecting Namek and helping those there. The Galactic Patrol leaves as Goku and Vegeta prepare to teleport home. But they stay for a moment and look around. Namek has really developed. The Namekians there are stronger. There's more villages. The planet seems to be thriving, and they're happy. BROLY says that he looks forward to seeing them again. It's always nice to catch up with the people on Earth. But after everything and his Yarjat training, he's gonna remain here. This is his rightful home after all, and he's strong enough now to defend it. So while Goku and Vegeta would like to train with him, and even though BROLY is kinda interested in that Ultra Instinct thing, a vacation is something that BROLY really needs right now. And what better place for a vacation than Namek? The three say goodbye as the Galactic Patrol departs, and Goku teleports Vegeta back to Earth. The whole time, Beerus has been watching. He's glad to hear that the threat is gone. That BROLY guy really loves to get stuff done quickly. Whis actually feels a bit happy too. His weird younger brother didn't step out of line like he expected. So BROLY saved everyone in more ways than one. This Saiyan raised on Namek, he really did help Universe 7, more than he could ever imagine. Not even just Universe 7, he's helped the future timeline, he's helped all the other universes. Really, he's a valuable addition. Whis looks on through his staff, letting out a slight smile as Beerus eats nearby. These mortals, they're truly fascinating, and he could tell that his younger brother thinks the same. And with that reflection, we'll end off this scenario here. So what did you guys think about this part? And what did you think about the scenario as a whole? Leave any of your thoughts down below. I'd like to see what you guys think. As always, if you liked the video, be sure to drop a like, and let's try to hit that like goal from the beginning of the video. If you haven't already, why not subscribe, as well as hitting the bell icon to get notified about any future videos that I upload on my channel. Thank you all for watching, thank you for supporting the scenario, and I hope you all enjoyed it. I'll see you all in my next video.